The red light on the camera blinked like a warning no one heeded. Lena Ripley's hand rested on the polished mahogany table, fingers spread wide to steady herself, as another contraction, mild but persistent, tightened across her belly. 7 months pregnant, and she'd been sitting in this glass-walled boardroom for 2 hours, while her husband's mistress preened in a pink power suit that cost more than most people's mortgages. The irony wasn't lost on her. Neither was the fact that 23 million people were watching this circus on the live stream. Hey there, beautiful souls. Before we dive deeper into what's about to unfold in this boardroom, I just want to say hello and send love to wherever you're watching from. New York, Lagos, London? Drop a comment below and let me know. How are you doing today? And listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do me a favor and hit that button right now. Trust me, you're going to want to see how this story ends. Now, back to Lena. She could feel their eyes on her. The 12 board members, mostly men, mostly white, all of them complicit, sat like vultures around the table, waiting for Adrian to finish his presentation about the Meridian merger. Her husband stood at the head of the table in his custom Tom Ford suit, laser pointer in hand, confidence radiating from every pore. He looked like a king addressing his court, and Bianca Corleone sat 2 seats away from him, close enough to touch, far enough to maintain plausible deniability. The woman's perfume, something French and expensive, cut through the recycled air like a blade. Lena had smelled it on Adrian's collar for months. She'd found the credit card receipts, the hotel key cards, the text messages that started with "thinking of you" and ended with promises no married man should make. But today wasn't about that. Today was about numbers that didn't add up. As you can see, Adrian said, clicking to the next slide, the Meridian acquisition will increase our market share by 42% in the next fiscal quarter. Lena's fingers tightened on the edge of the table. The baby kicked hard, as if he knew his mother was about to do something dangerous. "Excuse me," she said quietly. The room didn't stop. Adrian kept talking. The board members kept nodding. Even the camera operators in the back of the room ignored her. "Excuse me," Lena repeated, louder this time. Adrian's jaw ticked. He turned slowly, that practiced smile barely concealing his irritation. "Lena, sweetheart, we're in the middle of... The numbers are wrong." Silence crashed through the room like a wave. Bianca's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. She leaned forward, her pink blazer catching the overhead lights, her smile sharp as broken glass. "I'm sorry, did you just—" "The projected market share increase," Lena said, keeping her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. "It's not 42%. According to the Meridian Q3 reports filed with the SEC last week, their current market position combined with our holdings would only yield a 31% increase. Someone's been cooking the books." The live stream chat exploded. Lena could see it on the monitor mounted on the wall. Thousands of comments flooding in per second. A digital avalanche of shock and speculation. Adrian's smile froze. "Lena, you're tired. Why don't you go rest in my office?" "I'm not tired," she said. "I'm right." Bianca stood up so fast her chair scraped against the marble floor. "Okay, this is ridiculous. With all due respect, Mrs. Cole, you're not even on this board. You're here as a courtesy." The word dripped with venom. "Maybe stick to planning baby showers and let the adults handle the business." 3 board members chuckled, small, nervous laughs that said they knew this was wrong, but were too afraid or too complicit to say anything. And then it happened. Under the table, hidden from the cameras but not from Lena, Bianca's Louboutin heel shot out and connected with the base of Lena's chair. Hard. The chair jolted backward. Lena gasped, her hands flying to her belly, protective, instinctive. The baby kicked again, this time in protest. And for one terrifying second, Lena thought. Adrian laughed. Not a surprised laugh, not an uncomfortable laugh. A genuine, amused laugh that told Lena everything she needed to know about where his loyalties lay. "See?" he said, gesturing toward her like she was a prop in his presentation. Emotional, out of her depth. He turned to the camera, to the millions watching. "My wife means well, but pregnancy hormones are a hell of a thing, aren't they?" The board erupted in laughter. Real laughter this time. Bianca sat back down, smirking, her pink suit immaculate, her victory complete. And Lena Ripley, 7 months pregnant, publicly humiliated, kicked like a dog under the table, reached into her leather bag and pulled out a manila folder she'd been carrying for 3 months. Her hand didn't shake as she placed it on the table. Her voice didn't waver when she said, "Adrian, darling, I need to tell you something." But what Lena was about to reveal would destroy everything Adrian had built, and the whole world was watching. The folder sat between them like a loaded gun. Adrian's smile faltered for half a second before snapping back into place. He was good at that, recovering, adapting, turning every situation to his advantage. It's what had made him a millionaire by 30 and a CEO by 35. "Lena, what are you doing?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she let her gaze drift around the table, cataloging faces. There was Richard Bourne, the CFO, who'd signed off on every questionable deal Adrian had made in the past 2 years. Patricia Lang, head of operations, who'd looked the other way when Bianca was promoted over 3 more qualified candidates. And Thomas Shelby, Adrian's college roommate turned chief legal counsel, who'd helped draft the prenuptial agreement that was supposed to leave Lena with nothing. They all thought they knew her, Adrian's quiet wife, the woman who'd put him through business school while working double shifts as a financial analyst, the one who'd smiled through charity galas and nodded through board dinners. Her intelligence dismissed as helpful at best, uppity at worst. None of them knew about the nights she'd spent in her father-in-law's study before he died, learning everything Gerald Cole had built, or the trust fund Gerald had established in her name, the one Adrian didn't know existed because he'd never bothered to read his father's complete will. "I'm doing what should have been done months ago," Lena said finally. She opened the folder, pulling out the first document. Her hands were steady now, the initial shock of Bianca's attack replaced by something colder, something that had been building for 8 months, 9 days, and approximately 4 hours ever since she'd found Adrian in their bed with Bianca, both of them laughing about how accommodating Lena was. Bianca leaned forward, trying to see the documents. "Adrian, seriously, are we going to let her derail this entire—" "Shut up," Lena said. The room went silent. Even the camera operators stopped adjusting their equipment. Bianca's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. "Excuse me?" "I said, shut up." Lena's voice was calm, almost pleasant. "You've talked enough today. Kicked enough pregnant women. I think it's time you listened." Adrian's face had gone from confident to concerned. He knew that tone. He'd heard it exactly once before, the night she'd told him she was pregnant, and he'd suggested she take care of it because a baby would complicate things with the merger. She'd said no, and for the first time in their 5-year marriage, Adrian Cole had backed down. "Lena, baby, let's talk about this privately. We're live, Adrian. 23 million people watching. Seems like the perfect time to air some truths." She slid the first document across the table. This is a stock transfer agreement, executed by your father 6 months before he died. Gerald Cole was a lot of things, but he wasn't blind. He saw what you were becoming. Adrian snatched the paper, his eyes scanning frantically. This can't be legal. It's extremely legal. Notarized, filed with the SEC, and activated this morning at 9:00 a.m. Lena pulled out another document. This is the amended shareholder agreement, showing that as of today, I control 52% of Cole Industries. Your father left me everything he didn't trust you with, which, apparently, was quite a lot. The live stream chat was moving so fast now, it was just a blur of exclamation points and fire emojis. Patricia Lang stood up, her face pale. This is insane. Gerald would never. Gerald loved his son, Lena interrupted. But he loved this company more, and he knew Adrian would destroy it chasing profit over principle. She looked directly at Adrian, saw the panic beginning to crack through his composure. Your father spent 40 years building something that mattered. You've spent 5 years turning it into your personal playground. Bianca grabbed Adrian's arm. Do something! But Adrian couldn't do anything. Lena could see it in his eyes. The moment he realized he'd underestimated the quiet woman he'd married, the one he'd cheated on, dismissed, and publicly humiliated. The one who now owned everything he thought was his. So here's what's going to happen, Lena said, placing both hands flat on the table, her wedding ring catching the light. We're going to take a vote, right now, on live television. And what she was about to propose would change everything, for everyone in that room. Thomas Shelby was the first to find his voice. Lena, even if this is legitimate, and I'd need to verify every page with our legal team, you can't just walk in here and... I can, actually. She pulled out another document. This one thicker, bound with a blue cover. This is a motion to dissolve the current board of directors, effective immediately, citing gross misconduct, financial irregularities, and breach of fiduciary duty. It requires majority shareholder approval. She smiled, and it wasn't kind. That would be me. Adrian slammed his hand on the table. The sound cracked through the room like a gunshot. You're bluffing. My father would never do this to me. Never. Your father did it for you, Lena said quietly. He hoped you'd grow up, change, become the man he raised you to be. She paused, letting the words sink in. But then he got sick, and I'd visit him every day while you were too busy closing deals. He'd tell me stories about building this company from nothing, about the people he'd helped along the way. And then he'd ask me about the bruises. The room went absolutely still. What bruises? Patricia whispered. Lena rolled up her left sleeve. The marks had faded, but in the harsh boardroom lighting, the camera could still catch them. Finger-shaped shadows on her dark skin, weeks old, but unmistakable. The ones from when Adrian got upset about the pregnancy. When he grabbed me and told me I was ruining his life. Adrian's face went white. That was an accident. I apologized. You apologized after I threatened to leave. Lena pulled her sleeve back down. Gerald saw them when I wore a short-sleeved dress to his birthday dinner. You were too drunk to notice, but your father did. And that's when he changed his will. Bianca stood up so fast her chair fell backward. Okay, this is character assassination. Adrian would never... There are hospital records, Lena said calmly. From the emergency room visit I made while Adrian was in Tokyo closing the Yamamoto deal. The doctor documented everything, asked if I felt safe at home. She looked at Adrian, saw him crumbling. I lied and said I fell. Gerald knew better. The live stream was chaos now. Comments demanding Adrian's arrest, calling for investigations, some still defending him because they couldn't, or wouldn't, believe what they were seeing. Richard Bourne cleared his throat. Even if all this is true, Lena, you're 7 months pregnant. Running a multi-billion-dollar corporation isn't exactly what? Lena's voice could have cut glass. Appropriate for a pregnant black woman? Is that what you were going to say, Richard? He went red. I didn't mean... Yes, you did. She pulled out her phone, tapped the screen, and suddenly her voice was playing through the boardroom speakers. Richard's voice, too, recorded from a company dinner 3 months ago. She's sweet, but let's be honest. She's here because Adrian needed a diversity hire for the charity photos. No way she actually understands any of this finance stuff. Richard's face went from red to gray. I understand everything, Lena said, stopping the recording. Every deal, every manipulation, every time you cooked the books to hide Adrian's gambling debts, every offshore account, every bribe to city officials to fast-track permits. She pulled out document after document, spreading them across the table like tarot cards predicting doom. Your father kept meticulous records, Adrian. He knew you were spiraling. He just didn't know how far you'd go. Adrian lunged forward, grabbing for the documents, but Thomas caught his arm. Don't, the lawyer warned. The cameras. But Adrian was past caring about cameras. You ungrateful. Do you know what I've given you? The house? The cars? The lifestyle? You mean the things you bought with your father's money? Lena gathered the documents back into her folder. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor of dissolving this board and removing Adrian Cole as CEO, say aye. Silence. Absolute silence. And then, from the back of the room, one of the junior analysts who'd been taking minutes spoke up. Aye. But that single voice was about to start an avalanche no one could stop. The junior analyst's name was Sarah Connor, 26, fresh out of Harvard Business School, and terrified. Lena could see her hands shaking as every head in the room turned toward her. But the young woman kept her chin up, kept her eyes on Lena, and didn't take back her vote. Sarah, you're fired, Adrian said immediately. You can't fire her, Lena replied. You're not CEO anymore. I'm still CEO until this board votes. The board doesn't have power anymore. I do. Lena stood slowly, one hand on her belly, the other on the table for support. The baby was kicking steadily now, as if sensing his mother's adrenaline. Sarah stays. In fact, Sarah, you're now Director of Corporate Integrity. Congratulations. The live stream exploded with reactions. The comment section was moving too fast to read. A waterfall of shock, support, outrage, celebration. Bianca circled the table like a predator. You think you're so smart, don't you? You think taking Adrian's company makes you powerful? She stopped directly in front of Lena, close enough that the camera caught every detail of her sneer. You're still just the help who got lucky. Adrian married you for optics after the diversity scandal. Everyone knows it. Is that what he told you? Lena asked softly. Bianca's confidence flickered. Did he tell you about the night we met? How I was the lead analyst who saved his first major deal when he miscalculated the currency exchange rates? Lena pulled out her phone again, scrolled through old files. Or did he mention that I have an MBA from Wharton, summa cum laude, and turned down 3 Fortune 500 job offers to help him build this company? She projected an image onto the boardroom screen, a photo from 7 years ago. Lena, younger and less worn down, standing next to Adrian at a company event. But in this photo, she wasn't just arm candy. She was holding an award, Financial Analyst of the Year. Adrian was my assistant back then, Lena said. I taught him everything he knows. And then, when his father offered him the CEO position, Adrian asked me to step back. Said it would look better if I was his wife instead of his boss. She closed her eyes briefly. I loved him, so I said yes. Adrian's face had gone from angry to desperate. Lena, please, don't do this. Think about our baby, our family. Our family? Lena laughed, and it was the saddest sound in the room. You mean the family you tried to convince me to abort? The family you abandoned every time Bianca called? The family you've been planning to leave the second our son is born? According to these divorce papers your lawyer drafted last month. She threw another document on the table. Thomas Shelby, the lawyer, Adrian's best friend, went pale. You knew about this? Patricia asked him. Thomas didn't answer. He couldn't. Richard stood up, trying to regain control. Look, this is all very dramatic, but there are legal processes, which I've followed to the letter, Lena interrupted. I filed everything with the SEC at 6 a.m. this morning. The market opens in 3 hours. By then, everyone will know Coal Industries has new leadership. The only question is whether you go quietly or whether I release these documents showing your involvement in the accounting fraud. Richard sat down. Hey, friends, I know this is intense, right? If you're feeling this story, drop a comment below telling me what you'd do in Lena's position. And seriously, if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. You don't want to miss what happens next. Bianca was still standing, but her confidence had cracked. Adrian, tell her. Tell her about us, about the plans we made. Adrian's eyes darted between Bianca and the cameras, calculating. Always calculating. There is no us, Bianca, he said finally. Bianca stepped back like she'd been slapped. What? You were useful, fun, but you were never, he gestured vaguely, you were never the plan. And there it was. The moment Bianca realized she'd been played just as badly as Lena had. The difference was, Lena had seen it coming. Security! Lena called. 2 guards appeared in the doorway. Men Gerald had hired years ago. Men loyal to the Cole family legacy, not to Adrian's ego. Please escort Ms. Corleone from the building. She no longer works here. But Bianca wasn't going down without a fight, and what she revealed next would change everything. Bianca grabbed the edge of the conference table, her perfectly manicured nails digging into the wood. You want to destroy me? Fine. But I'm taking everyone down with me. She pulled out her own phone, fingers flying across the screen. Within seconds, the boardroom screen split, half showing the live stream, half showing what Bianca was projecting. Bank statements, wire transfers, email chains. This, Bianca said, her voice shaking with rage, is every illegal transaction Adrian's made in the past 3 years. Bribes to city councilors for zoning permits. Payoffs to union leaders to prevent strikes. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands hiding $40 million in untaxed revenue. She looked directly at the camera. And Lena knew about all of it. The room went silent. Lena's heart stopped. That's a lie. Is it? Bianca pulled up an email chain. Here's you, CC'd on the Pemberton deal emails, the ones where Adrian negotiated the illegal tax shelter. Your email address, right there. Patricia leaned forward, squinting at the screen. Lena, is this true? I was CC'd on thousands of emails. And here, Bianca interrupted, pulling up another document, is your signature on the offshore account applications, your name, your authorization. Lena's mind raced. Those signatures. She'd signed dozens of documents during Adrian's business trips, trusting him when he said they were routine corporate paperwork. She'd been so focused on growing the company, on being the supportive wife, that she hadn't— "I didn't know what those documents were," Lena said, but even she could hear how weak it sounded. Adrian saw his opening. His face transformed from panicked to predatory. "See? She's been part of this from the beginning. Probably why Gerald really left her the shares. To protect me from taking the fall alone. That's not— Face it, Lena." Adrian stood, buttoning his suit jacket, his confidence flooding back. "You try to take me down, you go down too. The SEC will investigate everything, every signature, every transaction. And whose name is on half these documents?" He smiled. "Mine and yours." The live stream chat was turning. Lena could see it. Comments questioning her motives, wondering if this was all a publicity stunt. Asking why she'd stayed silent if she'd known about the fraud. Because that was the trap, wasn't it? The same trap so many women fell into. Complicity through silence, guilt by association, punishment for not being perfect victims. Lena looked at Thomas Shelby, the lawyer, the one person in the room who knew corporate law better than anyone. "Thomas? Is he right? Am I implicated?" Thomas wouldn't meet her eyes. "Legally, yes. If the SEC investigates, they'll look at everyone with authorization on those accounts, including you." "So we're at a stalemate," Adrian said, crossing his arms. "You have the shares, but I have the proof that you're just as guilty as I am. We can destroy each other, or we can find a solution." "What kind of solution?" Lena asked carefully. "You give me back operational control. Remain as a silent majority shareholder. Collect dividends, live comfortably, raise our son. I'll even end things with Bianca. Make this marriage work." His voice softened, manipulative. "We can fix this, baby. Together." Bianca made a sound of protest, but Adrian ignored her. She'd served her purpose, providing evidence that would bind Lena to him forever. Lena's hand moved to her belly. The baby kicked once, twice, as if asking what she was going to do. Every eye in the room was on her. 23 million people watching online. The weight of Gerald's legacy on her shoulders, the threat of prison if she fought, the promise of comfort if she surrendered. "There's a third option," she said quietly. Adrian's smile faltered. "What?" Lena pulled out one final folder, this one marked with Gerald Cole's personal seal. "Your father knew you'd try something like this. That's why he didn't just give me the shares." She opened the folder, revealing a letter in Gerald's handwriting. "He also gave me his personal files, including proof of where every illegal transaction actually originated." She pulled out document after document, each one marked with Adrian's private email address, the one he thought was secure, the one he'd used to conduct business he didn't want traced back to the company. "These emails show you forging my signature on the offshore accounts. These show you adding my name to documents after I'd signed blank forms you said were for charity donations. And this," she held up a video file on a USB drive, "is security footage from your office, showing you practicing my signature before filing the Cayman Island paperwork." Adrian's face went white. "Your father was dying, but he wasn't blind," Lena said. "He had you followed for 6 months, documented everything, and he gave it all to me with one instruction: protect the company, no matter the cost. But what came next would test whether Lena was really ready to pay that price. Adrian moved so fast, the security guards barely had time to react. He lunged across the table, grabbing for the USB drive in Lena's hand. "You can't! That's mine!" The guards caught him, pulling him back, but not before he'd knocked Lena's folder to the floor. Papers scattered like broken promises across the marble. "Sir, step back!" the lead guard warned. Adrian wrenched free, his composure completely shattered. "Do you know what she's trying to do? She's trying to send me to prison. The father of her child. The father who's been planning to divorce me while I'm in labor," Lena shot back. She bent to gather the papers, wincing as another contraction hit, harder this time, too hard for 7 months. "The father who forged my signature on documents that could have destroyed both our lives." Bianca had been standing frozen, but now she started backing toward the door. "I need to leave. I can't be here for this." "Sit down," Lena commanded. "You can't tell me. I own this company. You're on company property. And if you leave before this meeting ends, I will have you arrested for trespassing and corporate espionage." Lena straightened, one hand pressed to her lower back. "You wanted to be part of the power game, Bianca? Congratulations, you're a witness now." Patricia Lang stood up, her voice shaking. "Lena, I think we need to adjourn this meeting. Call lawyers, figure out—" "No." Lena shook her head. "We finish this now. The market opens in 2 hours. Every second we wait, this company loses value. Employees worry about their jobs. Shareholders panic. This ends today." "Even if it means your own arrest?" Thomas asked quietly. Lena looked at him, really looked at him. Thomas Shelby, who'd been Adrian's friend since college, who'd been best man at their wedding, who'd smiled at her across Sunday dinners while secretly helping Adrian hide assets from her. "Especially if it means that," she said. The room went silent. Even the live stream chat seemed to pause, as if the world was holding its breath. "You're bluffing," Adrian said, but his voice lacked conviction. "You won't risk our son growing up with both parents in prison. Our son deserves better than growing up watching his father destroy lives for profit." Lena picked up the scattered papers, organizing them with shaking hands. Another contraction hit, stronger this time. She breathed through it, refusing to show weakness. "He deserves better than a mother who stayed silent while people suffered." She projected another image onto the screen, a news article from 2 years ago. Factory workers protesting outside coal industry's headquarters. 23 employees injured in safety violations. Company settles out of court. "I remember this," Lena said softly. Adrian came home furious because the settlement cut into his bonus. "I asked what happened. He said the workers were being dramatic, that accidents happen." She pulled up another document. But Gerald's files show Adrian knew about the safety violations 6 months before the accident. Maintenance requests denied. Inspection reports buried. All to save money on the quarterly report. Richard Bourne stood up abruptly. "I'm calling my lawyer." "Sit down," Lena said. "You signed off on those reports. You're just as complicit." "I was following orders. You were an adult making choices." Lena's voice was steel. "Every person in this room made choices. And now we all face the consequences." Adrian's phone buzzed. He looked at it, and his face went even paler. "The stock is dropping. Someone leaked." I leaked it," Sarah Connor said from the back of the room. The junior analyst, the new director of corporate integrity, held up her own phone. 10 minutes ago, I sent the safety violation documents to every major news outlet. The factory workers deserve to know the truth. Adrian whirled on her. You're finished. I'll make sure you never work in this industry. You have no power here anymore, Lena interrupted. But even as she said it, she felt another contraction, this one accompanied by a sharp, stabbing pain that made her gasp. Patricia noticed. Lena, you're in labor. I'm fine. You're not fine. You need a hospital. I said I'm fine. But even as she said it, Lena felt wetness between her legs. Not much, just enough to terrify her. She looked down, saw the dark spots spreading on her white skirt. The room erupted. Patricia was calling 911. Thomas was yelling for someone to get a doctor. Security was trying to maintain order. And Adrian stood frozen, watching his world collapse, unable or unwilling to help the woman he'd once promised to love. Bianca, surprisingly, was the one who moved first. She shrugged off her pink blazer and wrapped it around Lena's waist, hiding the stain. I'm many things, she said quietly, but I'm not going to let you bleed out on a live stream. But the crisis was far from over, and what happened in the next 60 seconds would determine whether Lena survived to see justice done. The paramedics arrived in 4 minutes. It felt like 4 hours. Lena refused the stretcher. Not until we vote, she said through gritted teeth, one hand gripping the table, the other pressed against her belly. I'm not leaving until this board is dissolved. Ma'am, you're hemorrhaging. I'm aware. Another contraction hit. Lena breathed through it, counting seconds like her birthing class had taught her. But this was too early. 7 months too early for labor. Too dangerous for the baby. The paramedic looked at the camera crews, at the board members, at the chaos of the corporate theater around them. We need to transport you now. 5 minutes, Lena said. Give me 5 minutes. Adrian found his voice. Lena, for once in your life, stop being stubborn. Our son will have a mother who finished what she started. Lena looked at the camera, at the millions still watching. Her vision was swimming, but she forced herself to focus. I want everyone watching to understand something. This isn't about revenge. This is about accountability. She pulled herself upright, ignoring the pain, ignoring the wetness she could feel spreading despite Bianca's jacket. Coal Industries was built on the backs of workers like those factory employees, people who trusted that their safety mattered, people who believed their labor would be valued. Her voice grew stronger. My father-in-law understood that. He came from nothing, worked 3 jobs to put himself through college, built this company with his hands and his integrity. Patricia was crying now. Gerald would be proud of you. Gerald would be ashamed of all of us, Lena corrected, myself included. I saw the signs. I questioned some of the deals, but I told myself I was being paranoid, that Adrian knew better, that questioning him would make me seem ungrateful or difficult. She looked directly at the other women watching the live stream. How many of you have done the same? Stayed silent because speaking up seemed too dangerous? The chat exploded with comments. Thousands of women sharing their stories, their silence, their regrets. So here's what's going to happen, Lena said. I'm dissolving this board. Effective immediately, every person who enabled Adrian's corruption is terminated. She pointed to Richard, to Patricia, to Thomas. You'll receive severance, but you're done. Security will escort you out. You can't do this alone, Thomas protested. You need a board to run a company this size. I'm appointing an interim board tonight. People from outside this industry, people who understand what it means to work for a living. She pulled out a prepared list. Another thing Gerald had left her. Names of union leaders, community organizers, workers' rights attorneys. They'll serve until we can hold proper elections, where employees and shareholders both have a say. Adrian laughed bitterly. You're destroying everything we built. No, Lena said quietly. I'm saving it. Your way led to corruption and suffering. Gerald's way led to prosperity and respect. I'm going back to his values. Another contraction hit, this one so powerful Lena's knees buckled. Bianca caught her before she fell, surprising everyone, maybe even herself. That's it, the paramedic said firmly. You've done enough. Let us help you. Lena nodded, but before they could move her, she looked at Adrian one last time. I loved you. I really did. I believed we were building something together. But you loved the power more than you ever loved me. Adrian's face crumpled. For a moment, just one brief, honest moment, Lena saw regret flash across his features. Genuine regret. I'm sorry, he whispered. I know you are. Lena let the paramedics guide her toward the gurney. But sorry doesn't fix this. Actions do. Sarah Connor stepped forward, her young face determined. I'll oversee the transition, make sure everything's documented properly. Thank you. Lena squeezed her hand. Gerald's files are in the safe in my office. The code is… The date you and Adrian got married, Thomas said quietly. Gerald told me once. He said it was a reminder of who Adrian used to be before the power changed him. Lena looked at Thomas, saw the shame in his eyes. You could have stopped him. I know. But you didn't. I know. The paramedics were lifting her onto the gurney when Adrian pushed through the security guards. Wait. Please. Everyone stopped. Adrian knelt beside the gurney, his perfect suit wrinkled now, his composure completely gone. Let me come with you. To the hospital. I want to be there when our son is born. Lena looked at him, at the man she'd loved, at the father of her child, at the stranger he'd become. No, she said softly. You lost that right when you chose Bianca over our family. And as they wheeled her out of the boardroom, past the cameras still broadcasting to millions, Lena realized that walking away from Adrian wasn't the end. It was finally, terrifyingly, the beginning. The hospital room was too white, too sterile, too quiet after the chaos of the boardroom. Lena's OB-GYN, Dr. Ellen Fisher, worked quickly, hooking up monitors, checking vitals, her face professionally calm, but her eyes worried. We're stopping the labor, Dr. Fisher said. The baby's not ready yet. You're only 30 weeks. I know. Lena's voice was weak. The adrenaline that had carried her through the confrontation was gone, leaving only exhaustion and fear. Is he okay? His heart beats strong. But Lena, you can't do this again. The stress… I know. She closed her eyes. It's done now. The board is dissolved. Adrian's out. Dr. Fisher attached an IV, started medications to stop the contractions. The whole hospital is watching the live stream. Every nurse, every doctor. What you did… She paused, professional distance cracking slightly. What you did was incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. Lena laughed, which turned into a wince as another contraction hit. Weaker this time, the medication working. That's my brand, apparently. Her phone buzzed. Then again and again. Lena looked at the screen. Hundreds of notifications. News outlets requesting interviews, women's organizations offering support. And one text that made her heart stop. From Sarah Connor. The SEC just arrived. They're seizing everything. Adrian's been arrested. Lena's hand trembled as she replied, "And the others?" "Sarah, Richard and Patricia are cooperating. Thomas is asking for immunity in exchange for testimony. But Lena, they're asking about you too. They have questions about your signatures on those documents." There it was, the other shoe dropping. Dr. Fisher noticed her face. "What's wrong?" "The SEC is investigating. They think I'm complicit in the fraud." "Are you?" "No, but I signed documents without reading them thoroughly. I trusted Adrian." Lena's voice broke, "Which makes me either guilty or incompetent. Either way, I might lose everything I just fought for." The door opened. A woman in a dark suit entered. FBI, based on the badge. Special Agent Trinity Montoya. She was young, Latina, with eyes that missed nothing. "Mrs. Cole, I'm sorry to intrude during your medical emergency, but I need to ask you some questions." Dr. Fisher stepped forward. "She's in active labor." "Stopped labor," Agent Montoya corrected. "Which means she's stable enough to talk. And honestly, Mrs. Cole, talking to me now might be your best chance at avoiding arrest." Lena pushed herself upright despite Dr. Fisher's protests. "Ask your questions." Agent Montoya pulled out a tablet, showing the same offshore account documents Bianca had revealed. "These accounts have your signature, your authorization, $40 million in untaxed revenue. Adrian forged my signature. Gerald Cole's private investigator documented it. The evidence is in the USB drive I gave to Sarah Connor. We have the USB drive. We've also been investigating Cole Industries for 18 months. Your husband isn't the only one we're looking at." Agent Montoya swiped to another document. "This is a wire transfer authorization from 3 months ago. $50,000 to a city councilman the same week he voted to approve Cole Industries' rezoning request." "That signature, is it yours or a forgery?" Lena looked at the screen. The signature was shaky, uncertain. "That's mine." The room went silent. "But I didn't know what I was signing," Lena continued. "Adrian said it was a charitable donation to the Councilman's Youth Center initiative. He had me sign a stack of donation authorizations that day." "Did you verify the donation?" "No." Lena met Agent Montoya's eyes. "I trusted my husband. I was 7 months pregnant, exhausted, and I trusted the man I loved. Does that make me legally complicit?" Agent Montoya was quiet for a long moment. "Legally? It's complicated. Ethically? You enabled someone you suspected was corrupt." "I know. But," Agent Montoya pulled out another document, "we also have evidence that you tried to stop him. 3 months ago, you met with Gerald Cole's attorney and requested copies of all corporate documents with your signature. 2 months ago, you hired your own forensic accountant to review company finances. And 6 weeks ago, you filed a whistleblower complaint with the SEC under an anonymous tip line." Lena blinked. "How did you know that was me?" "Because I'm the agent who took your call, and I've been building a case against your husband ever since." Agent Montoya smiled slightly. "What you did today, dissolving the board, exposing the corruption on live television, you just handed us everything we needed to prosecute. The public pressure alone will ensure real consequences. So I'm not under arrest. You'll need to testify, cooperate fully, and there will be scrutiny of every decision you made as majority shareholder going forward." Agent Montoya put away her tablet. "But no, Mrs. Cole, you're not under arrest. You're our star witness." The relief was so overwhelming, Lena started crying. Dr. Fisher immediately checked her vitals, but Lena waved her off. "I'm fine, I'm just—" The door burst open. Adrian stood there, flanked by 2 police officers, his hands cuffed in front of him. "I needed to see you," he said, "before they take me." And what Adrian said next would finally close the chapter on their broken marriage and open a new one for Lena. Agent Montoya moved to block Adrian, but Lena held up her hand. "Let him speak. He's earned that much." The officers pushed Adrian into the room but kept him near the door. He looked smaller somehow. The expensive suit couldn't hide the defeat in his shoulders, the exhaustion in his eyes. "I'm sorry," Adrian said. "I know those words don't mean anything anymore, but I need to say them. I'm sorry for everything." Lena sat up straighter, wincing slightly. The contractions had stopped, but her body ached. "You're right. Those words don't mean anything, but I'll listen." Adrian's voice cracked. "My father built this company from nothing, and all I could think about was proving I could make it bigger, richer, more powerful. Somewhere along the way, I forgot why it mattered." He looked at her belly. "I forgot what actually mattered." "You forgot I was a person," Lena said quietly. "Not an asset, not arm candy for charity galas. A person who loved you enough to give up her own career, her own dreams, to help you succeed." "I know." "Do you?" Lena's voice was harder now. "Because you didn't just betray me, Adrian. You betrayed your father, the workers, everyone who trusted coal industries to be different from every other corrupt corporation." She paused. "And you betrayed our son. He'll grow up knowing his father chose greed over family." Adrian's face crumpled. "Can you ever forgive me?" It was the question she'd been dreading and expecting in equal measure. Lena looked at him, really looked at him. At the man she'd loved, the man she'd married, the man who'd slowly poisoned that love with lies and affairs and violence. She thought about Gerald Cole, who'd built something beautiful and left it in her hands to protect. She thought about the factory workers who'd been injured because of cost-cutting measures. She thought about all the women who'd watched today's live stream and seen their own stories reflected back at them. "Eventually," she said finally, "not today, maybe not for years, but eventually, yes. Because holding on to hatred will only poison me the way greed poisoned you." She placed a hand on her belly. "And this boy deserves better than parents who can't be in the same room." Adrian's shoulders shook. He was crying now, genuine tears that might have moved her once. "What happens now?" "You cooperate with the FBI. You testify against Richard and Patricia, and anyone else involved in the corruption. You serve whatever sentence the judge gives you." Lena's voice softened slightly. "And when you get out, if our son wants to know his father, I won't stop that. But you have to earn it, Adrian. You have to become the man your father hoped you could be. And us? There is no us anymore. Our marriage is over." She pulled off her wedding ring, the diamond that had cost more than most people made in a year, and held it out. "But we'll always be connected through our son. So you have a choice. You can be a cautionary tale he learns from, or you can be a redemption story that inspires him." Adrian took the ring with shaking hands. "I choose redemption." "Then prove it." Agent Montoya nodded to the officers who gently guided Adrian toward the door. He paused, looking back one last time. "I really did love you, Lena. I just loved the power more." "I know," she said. "That's why this had to end." The door closed. The room was silent except for the steady beep of the fetal heart monitor. Strong, healthy, determined. Like his mother, Fisher squeezed Lena's hand. "How are you feeling?" "Exhausted, terrified, relieved." Lena laughed softly. Proud, maybe? Is that okay to feel? It's more than okay. Dr. Fisher checked the monitors again. The baby's stable. You're stable. I want you on bed rest for the next week, and then we'll reassess. But barring any complications, you should carry to term. Lena closed her eyes, letting relief wash over her. Her son would be okay. That was all that mattered. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a video call from Sarah Connor. Lena answered. "The news is everywhere," Sarah said, her face filling the screen. Behind her, Lena could see the coal industries office, people cheering, hugging, celebrating. The stock dropped initially, but then it started climbing again. Shareholders are calling it a moral correction. And Lena, 3 major companies just reached out about ethical partnerships. They want to work with the new coal industries. Lena felt tears on her cheeks. Gerald would be happy. He'd be proud of you. Sarah's voice was thick with emotion. We all are. You changed everything today, not just for this company, but for every woman who's been told to stay quiet, to trust the men in charge, to accept the unacceptable. Speaking of changing things, if this story touched you, if you've ever had to stand up for what's right even when it cost you everything, leave a comment below. Share your story, and subscribe to the channel because we're just getting started with stories that matter. The call ended. Lena lay back against the pillows, one hand on her belly, feeling her son kick with strong, steady movements. She thought about everything she'd lost today, her marriage, her naivety, her belief that love alone could fix broken people. But she also thought about everything she'd gained, her dignity, her power, her voice, a company she could reshape into something good, a son who would grow up watching his mother refuse to be diminished. 6 months later, Lena stood in the renovated coal industries headquarters, now renamed Coal Legacy Corporation. Her son, Gerald Cole Jr., slept in a carrier against her chest while she addressed the new board, former factory workers, union leaders, community advocates, and Sarah Connor, who'd been promoted to Chief Operating Officer. My father-in-law used to say that business isn't about extracting value, it's about creating it, Lena said. Oh, he believed that a company is only as strong as the people it serves and employs. Today, we're implementing new policies that reflect those values. Profit sharing for all employees, mandatory safety standards that exceed federal requirements, and a corporate ethics board with real power to investigate concerns. The board applauded. Through the glass walls, Lena could see employees at their desks, people who no longer feared for their jobs or their safety, people who'd watched a pregnant woman stand up to corruption and decided they could stand up too. Her phone buzzed. A message from Adrian, who was 3 months into a 5-year sentence for fraud and corruption. He was teaching financial literacy classes to other inmates, working with regulators to help prosecute white-collar crime, and writing letters to their son that Lena would save for when Gerald Jr. was old enough to understand. I saw the news about the policy changes Adrian had written. Dad would be proud. And Lena, I know I don't deserve to say this, but I'm proud too. You're building something beautiful from the ashes of everything I destroyed. Lena didn't respond. Not yet. Maybe someday. But for now, she had a company to run, a son to raise, and a future to build that looked nothing like the past. She looked down at Gerald Jr., who'd opened his eyes, dark like hers, curious like his grandfather's. Your story's just beginning, she whispered. And it's going to be so much better than mine. Outside the window, The city stretched endless and bright with possibility. Somewhere, other women were fighting their own battles, finding their own courage, learning that silence was never safer than speaking truth. And maybe, just maybe, some of them had watched a pregnant woman dissolve a corrupt board on live television and realized they were stronger than they'd been taught to believe. The story wasn't just Lena's anymore. It belonged to everyone who'd ever been underestimated, dismissed, or told to accept less than they deserved. And that story, that beautiful, defiant, unstoppable story, was only just beginning.